So, I'd like to introduce you now to David Hourihane, who's the Managing Director of the Sustainable Development Capital Limited, or SDCL for short. Not a name maybe that's familiar to many of you, but the fact that David runs a fund that, according to my text here, is worth 75 million and is available for investment in energy efficiency may be of interest to you all. So, over to you, David.
Hopefully it may be indeed. Yeah, and look, thank you to both the presenters for a very interesting presentation. So we've heard about cyber attacks and best-in-class projects in brewery manufacturing and industrial installation in Ethiopia. And I'm now going to talk to you about our energy efficiency funds here in Ireland, in particular our work and focus on the agri-food sector. So why are we here? We run the 75 million government-backed energy efficiency fund. We work closely with Board BIA and a number of Board BIA clients looking at energy efficiency opportunities. Our particular type of funding and the services structure that we can introduce is particularly applicable for the agri-food sector. In particular, we see a benefit of our funding model and our services delivery, given margins within the sector remain under pressure. Similarly, energy efficiency and the manner in which we can deliver deals facilitates a competitive advantage. In particular, allowing capital to be allocated to other core business areas, facilitating expansion, as many of you in your facilities will have been looking at in the context of the removal of the cap quotas, and also it's EBITDA enhancing. So, the manner in which we structure deals as a service allows us to cover the entire upfront capital cost, and also allows lower OPEX, and therefore protects and enhances your EBITDA, which for a business where you're constantly competing for better margins, including supplying into the retail sector, it makes sense. In terms of our offering, we deliver a fully funded service solution. So we aren't just capital. We want to work with you as a client and really get to know the projects that you're looking at. And we want to deliver this service to you working with best-in-class subcontractors and delivery partners. So I think to Connor's point, around understanding the supply chain, understanding procurement processes and having best-in-class contractors and energy services companies to work with us, that's something we're very much bought into and support. We'll only work with credit-worthy delivery partners that can actually deliver the project, and their performance has to be proven. And similarly, from a risk perspective, John touched upon supply chain risk and management around that. In the context of the deals that we do, we look at a full risk transfer for you. So we're not looking at a debt product in loaning anything to you by way of the equipment upgrade. We manage the construction, the operational, the technical risk around the project, and the deals are structured and reflect that in terms of risk return. And similarly, from a performance perspective, we only generate a service fee where we can actually demonstrate that the energy savings have materialized. And I think that means our interests are very much aligned with you and your facility and also your finance director as regards paying a service fee only where we can actually demonstrate performance and the agreed energy savings have been delivered. So in terms of who SDCL is, I manage our Irish business. We have a team here of investment professionals. You may have met some of them over lunchtime. I think one of our colleagues, Brian Hastings, has been busy manning our stand. We're delighted to discuss any opportunities with you, whether today or offline. We manage a number of dedicated energy efficiency funds, the first of which was established in Europe and UK with the Green Investment Bank. That's almost now fully committed. Our Irish fund is 75 million, comprising commitments from the Irish government and a number of investors. Similarly in Singapore and recently launched fund in New York. So we're the leading energy efficiency fund manager globally. Our investment thesis has been proven and we're busy trying to develop markets in the jurisdictions we operate in. We'll also be launching a number of other funds, including focused on Africa at some stage over the course of Q2 in 2016. In terms of Ireland, our investors are Irish government. The Minister for Energy has committed 35 million. We were procured by a procurement process run by the NTMA, Department of Energy. A number of corporate strategic institutional investors have also committed capital on the private side. Glen Dimplex Group, London Regional Properties, a very large successful property fund in Europe, about 8 billion assets under management sterling. And then a number of domestic pension funds. So the Church of Ireland Pension Fund have blessed us with an investment. L&P trustees, an impact investor interested in commercial returns, risk-adjusted returns, but also interested in environmental returns. So you don't have to sacrifice commercial returns to also produce verifiable, sustainable and environmental returns, and that's exactly why energy efficiency is developing and being developed by us and others as an asset class, a new asset class. So in terms of what we seek to do and what we can achieve, we're not just capital. So we bring together the full project delivery. We have conducted due diligence with our advisors on hundreds of different energy efficient technologies. We'll only work with technologies that are demonstrable energy efficiency savings. So we're not interested in investing and using technologies that are unproven or that have either no proven savings and that don't have the appropriate warranties and performance data to go with them. Similarly, we'll develop a solution with a client. So we're not just coming in at the funding stage to actually effectively write a check. We work with you on delivering, structuring a project that works best for you. We obviously do have the capital through the fund, but we're more developers working with you as a client to ensure you can produce the best value for money performance on a project. And similarly, we look at the implementation. So around the technical solution, the validation of that, the monitoring and verification plan that goes with energy efficiency, and also tying that in with your various other environmental criteria, including ISO 50001 on site. And similarly, in terms of delivery, obviously there's regulatory compliance. So there's your existing energy efficiency targets. Some of you may be EU ETS. Similarly, you obviously have obligations from a health and safety perspective, from a regulatory perspective, but similarly verifiable energy savings that we can deliver, and also the infrastructure upgrade. So one of the beauties of our approach is that we're not fixated by a short, simple return in terms of return on investment. So what we want to do is bundle the shorter term measures with the longer term measures, and very much focused on a life cycle analysis, which means that we can fund projects that typically wouldn't be funded in-house by yourselves and by your finance team. So again, from an investment perspective for us, we're here to wrap the full project. So we'll supply, install, maintain and fund the energy efficiency upgrade. We're flexible about our contract term. So again, 5 to 15 years, depending on the creditworthiness of the underlying counterparty. So that goes for the energy services company or the subcontractor that we work with, but it also goes for the client. So, we'd like to know that the parties that we're working with are going to be here in 10 years if we do a 10-year deal. So we're obviously selective as regards the approach in terms of assessing the credit risk around the contractual counterparty. Risk transfer is a major area where we can add value. So again, not a debt provider. We're not looking at grant funding. Our value is in taking the project risks, taking the construction risk, and also looking at operating the contract over a long term. So we're not an energy services company. We work with you on a partnership basis, and we'll subcontract to a delivery partner, but importantly, we're there for the long term. Our savings have to be verified, but our returns are structured on the basis of those savings being delivered over the full contract term. And our money is out the door day one and covering the upfront capital cost for all of the equipment upgrade. And again, that's a performance-based approach that we think is very much aligned with the client and represents good value for money. From an accounting perspective, one of the deliverables we've sought to achieve on UK and Irish projects is the ability to structure this off balance sheet. So as opposed to having a finance lease for it to be treated and capitalised off balance sheet, we can structure this as a services contract. And that's very important from a financing perspective. Even if you don't have challenges around capital allocation, your finance team may not want to see a project of 5-7 million for energy efficiency on your balance sheet. So where we manage the equipment, where we deliver this to you as a service, and our service fee is contingent on the savings being delivered, that can be structured off balance sheet. And that's a very important value add that we work with you on. And again, from a legal perspective, we have a multiplicity of contracting structures. So we're not a one-size-fits-all approach. We have a team in-house in the UK and Ireland that can sculpt a deal to work for the client in each individual case. So in terms of how we seek to invest, we want to understand the project from day one. So again, we're not writing a check just before the project is being constructed. We want to work with you as the building owner or as the client to understand your business, to understand what measure we can introduce in terms of process optimization to improve your per unit cost reduction. And we also want to evaluate a multiplicity of opportunities across your buildings and your infrastructure. So we're not just there to fund lighting or to fund CHP. We want to understand what the best complementary technologies can be delivered to you to produce good, robust, verifiable energy savings and also represent value for money. From a financial perspective, we're not a one-size-fits-all approach either. There's no set format as regards the level of retained savings we'd structure with you. There's no set format as regards our investment returns either. They're dependent on the risk profile of the project, and again we have flexibility around the contract term and our investment returns, but the investment returns will reflect the level of risk that we're assuming on a project. From a contractual perspective, we'll work with you on structuring the appropriate contractual arrangements, long-term O&M contract, working on the basis of project milestones, drawdowns, but again, because we're managing the money during that process, the money will only be drawn down subject to agreed and certified milestones. So to Connor's point about, the design being one thing and then the project being extended out and the issue of liquidated damages, or typically the client having to be on the hook for the extension of that contract, given that we're managing the money, we're having to fund that, it's very appropriately structured to ensure that we have to manage that risk and ensure that that doesn't happen. And then from a delivery perspective, we're obviously a team here that has a number of partners who help us deliver this. From a technical perspective, we have leading engineers and cost consultancies, again, that work with us on a subcontract basis and verify that the installations have happened on time and on budget in terms of our contractual delivery partners. And it's a case of, in energy efficiency, I guess, trying to simplify the structure. So in essence, we provide a full wrap of the installation, construction risk, operation and maintenance, performance risk, but what you're signing up to is a services contract. So you only pay us a service fee where under the contract we show you that the savings have been verified. So all of the back-end work with the contractors, with the delivery, with the technology risk and the wrap around that is done by us. What you're signing up to is a simplified services structure whereby you're paying a service fee, either monthly, quarterly, where we can show you that the savings have materialized. And I think it's about trust, but it's also about simplification of this offering. And I think there's a lot of noise in the market around energy performance contracting. I think what we're trying to do is just demonstrate that there's a services contract here that can deliver a good project, and you only pay a service fee where the project has achieved its performance. Again, in terms of backstopping the risk, we are the ultimate backstop on this. So when you look at risk transfer, when you look at the value of your capital being allocated into a project versus what we can deliver, I think it's the sophistication of approach for you as a client to understand, can I manage these risks myself in-house? Is there capital available to do a project like this? Or is it preferable in terms of the value for money proposition and the value of transferring that risk to another party, being the fund and the delivery partner, to do this? And in particular, that will arise where your own internal hurdle rates or your investment returns won't allow you to do a particular project. Whereas in our case, we're very happy to do the longer term and the shorter term payback. And that's just a simple schematic in terms of trying to simplify the structure. So, day one, we've got 5 million capex out front, funded by us. Over the project term, 8 or 10 years, you've got a service charge to us based on verifiable savings materializing. You've also got a level of retained savings for you as a client, along with better environmental performance, lower OPEX, and also free equipment upgrade effectively not being on balance sheet. And then after the contract term, you've got level of savings occurring to you in the full amount. You've obviously also got the ability to hedge against energy price inflation as well by locking in guaranteed savings for a portion of your energy consumption. I'm not going to teach any of you how to suck eggs in relation to the opportunity across the sector. So our key sectoral focus is within agri-food, dairy, meat processing, brewing and soft drink production. I think the other area I'd mentioned to you in the context of opportunities that we see certainly within dairy and meat processing is in the context of renewable heat. We're very interested in discussing renewable heat opportunities with any of you who are considering that. I think in addition to a very transparent metric for funding renewable heat, we're quite comfortable with the technology around that. What we can also do is bring to the table long-term fuel supply structures. So that's something that we'd be very interested in discussing with any of you who are looking at renewable heat projects, both in the context of the existing consultation around RHI and going forward. So equity funding, we have a number of technology providers who we know and who we've diligenced, who we can work with, and also the ability for us through partnership arrangements with international and domestic fuel suppliers to bring the long-term fuel supply to the table around biomass. And that's a key, from a financing perspective, that's a key hurdle for us to get over to deliver these projects. It's something we've worked hard to try to achieve. So taking that risk from a credit risk perspective out of the equation should allow us to contract and deliver renewable heat projects at scale. So very interested to speak with any of you who are considering renewable heat or who might like to discuss that with us. So So just in terms of a couple of case studies, I think the one thing about energy efficiency and our space is demonstrable projects where this has actually worked. We've probably done more deals than anyone else in terms of energy efficiency. Again, we're trying to create an asset class based on this funding model. We've completed a number of deals in the UK, completed 2, 3 in Ireland. I want that to be more. I think what we've discovered with working in the Irish market no more than the UK or Singapore or the States is that the lead time for energy efficiency is long. And I'm sure many of you will appreciate that. From project conception through to actual delivery, from putting together your baseline energy consumption or your data set, and then looking at the various pieces that go into a puzzle of getting a deal done and getting buy-in from the relevant parties. We see it takes anything from 12 to sort of 18 months, and that's where you have a client that really wants to try and get the deal done. So it's a sector that involves a lot of grind. And I guess that's why I can say that we're not just capital. We are involved in the day-to-day grind, trying to get these deals mobilised, trying to make them happen. And you can see from the couple of case studies that I've listed there, we've done a couple of relatively large-scale deals. A nice deal with Moy Park in the UK around biomass boilers. Again, carbon footprint reduction for Moy Park, interested in looking at their supply chain, also looking at sort of unit cost reduction, the benefits that go with fuel switching in that context. Tesco is a lighting retrofit in Ireland. NCB car parks, again, lighting. And unfortunately, I said we don't just do lighting. A number of these are lighting. Santander was an 800 branch retrofit that we've just completed with GE Lighting. So 800 Santander branches in the UK and 50 odd offices as well. But again, Santander doesn't struggle with accessing capital, but they adopted the approach whereby they would transfer the risk over a 10-year term in this particular contract to us and to GE. Full operation and maintenance schedule there, substantial energy savings over a 10-year term, obviously with LED retrofit for Santander. Finalised the Four Seasons retrofit in Dublin within the hotel sector. Bart's Health in the UK, that was a CHP project, it was a PFI variation, 2.5 megawatt CHP with Skanska and Tienbacher. And again, a social housing deal with Climote, the smart controls technology here, in conjunction with ESB as the offtake party for the energy savings credits. And again, our first project in the UK was Kingspan, large-scale industrial retrofit. So we're very much open for business, and I guess agri-food is absolutely a key sector of focus for us. We've been staying in contact and working with Padraig Brennan and his colleagues in Board BIA. We understand the drivers in this sector. We understand also the constraints as regards capital allocation, and I'm sure the desire to focus on capacity expansion and core projects within your business. I think the manner in which we can structure deals lends itself to collaborate and work with you as clients. We'd be very interested in pursuing discussions with you to try and see whether or not we can work more closely with you. So thanks for that.